This is episode 13, a solo episode with me, myself, Tiffany Hinton. And today we're focusing on why I chose a Greenwich and what it really means and how it speaks to my soul. And I'm so excited to have you here today with us on Cultivating Guts. Hello, it's Tiffany, and welcome back to Cultivating Guts, a podcast where we discuss gardening, homesteading, gut health, and following our intuition. I am so excited to be back with you guys. We took a week off, and I had a little reset, and there's just a lot that went on last week, including a brand new photo shoot for Cultivating Guts and so much more. But I have had so many insightful moments and ideas, and today I'm going to riff a little bit on the podcast because yesterday was my 13th wedding anniversary. And a lot of stuff just came through as I was laying there last night, and it was so quiet, and I was the only one awake. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to go record a podcast right now, right? 2 a.m., not the opportune time. So I took a little notes on my phone, and I am here today with you to discuss kind of why Greenwich. Where does this come from? Why do I call myself a Greenwich? What does it really mean? And why didn't I pick a different name? And how do I the best word for it is relate. How do I identify, right? I know that I am me. I am a being. I am not something else. Greenwich is just another title. I get that, right? Like a technical director or mom or an autoimmune coach. All of these things are titles we give ourselves. But why did I pick the title Greenwich? We're going to dive into that today on this episode. I am also actually simultaneously video recording this podcast. So if you want to catch us live and on YouTube, you can head over to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Tiffany Hinton. And we can chat there and you can watch this recording live. We are also, before we get started, I want to make sure that you realize that you can subscribe to the podcast and get alerts when new episodes drop. But we would also I personally would love your review of the Cultivating Guts podcast. Share with me your favorite episodes. Maybe send a screenshot my way at Tiffany@GFMomCertified, and I'll send you our 4-day Hacking Your Health Gut Detox Plan. A great way to cultivate and clean up your gut. Also, if you're listening, screenshot your favorite part of this podcast, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes, and share it with us on Instagram at GFMomCertified or at Cultivating Guts, and I will get that reposted. I love reposting, and I'm excited to listen to what your favorite part of this episode is today. And if you relate or identify with any of the topics that I talk about, I'm so grateful you're here, and all of our amazing listeners for helping us grow the podcast this year as we bloom and flower into the new year of 2022 with our brand new podcast, this being only episode 13. But before we head into the show, here's a quick word from some of our sponsors. So I'm super excited for our sponsor, Holistic Wellness. It is a CBD company that we found actually online during 2021, and we've been using their products in our house, our family, myself, our girls. I even gave some to a friend of mine and for her pet, and it is truly an amazing product. The uniqueness that Holistic Wellness delivers is that it's pre-portioned servings in a broad spectrum CBD in a portable beverage stick. So you could actually take a package, you can stick it in your purse, you can, pack it in your suitcase, whatever you need to do. But it's also in a stick that, like I said, is pre-portioned. So every grab and go stick contains 10 milligrams of CBD wellness, and they have a proprietary blend and it's water soluble, their hemp extract, which is also very, very unique in that you can put it in water, you could put it in juice, you could put it in another liquid. It completely dissolves, and it's truly amazing. The other thing that is really, really awesome about the Holistic Wellness is that they have different blends intentionally. So this beauty blend has collagen in it. So it helps your nails, your skin, your different parts of your body that need a little extra boost. They have a stress blend, which has lemon balm, or you're more familiar with what's called Melissa. And it is relaxing. It is also amazing. But if you're actually looking for something to relax you to go to sleep, they actually have a sleep stick. And in the sleep stick, it has a little bit of melatonin to help with your sleep, along with chamomile, which is shown to help relax the body. They also have a digest blend for those that are listening to our podcast that have stomach problems, complaints, bloating, just issues with digesting. And it contains papaya and turmeric, which are great for digestion. And it's awesome as well. I like this one. This is probably my favorite. The Digest Blend. It's an orange package. They also have an Energizer blend that has turmeric and ginger in it. And the Energizer blend is great if you need to pick me up in the afternoon, like you hit that 3 o'clock low and you don't really need to reach for caffeine. You just need something to pick up your body. They have a 10-pack that you can order on their website. And what's truly amazing is that for this holiday season, we have a special coupon for our listeners, and the code is GFMOM, so GFMOM, and it saves 25% off your order. That is like unheard of, really, to get 25% off your whole order. You can utilize this by going to the Holistic Wellness website. We've got the link below in the show notes. And I'm super grateful and excited for our brand new sponsor, Holistic Wellness, and to be able to offer you a great CBD product that is organically grown in a greenhouse, never touches soil. It's actually grown hydroponically. And it's combined, like I said, in unique blends with herbs and plants that have additional benefits for your body, whether it's helping you go to sleep or it's helping you aid in digestion, or there is, like I said, the collagen, or it's the helping you relax or relieve the anxiety. And so super excited. Again, the code to save 25% off your holiday order is GFMOM, and we'll have the link and the code below in the show notes. Can I share with you a secret weapon for thriving through the holiday season, thriving through life, and just keeping my gut in check, right? This is Gluten Away from Just Thrive. I love their probiotics. I found them about 10 years ago. They're a female-owned company based right here in Chicago. And this Gluten Away product that they have is a combination that is my go-to for every meal that I eat out, all of my travel, whether I'm on an airplane or in a car, or even if I'm going to a friend's house and I'm just really not sure about the cross-contamination. This helps me keep my celiac disease and Crohn's disease in remission. And when I pair this with their probiotic each day, my gut is truly thriving. I have painless stomachs. I don't really have cramps anymore. I'm regular, which is awesome, right? Nobody really wants to get constipated. And I know that I have a healthy gut colony of good bacteria living in my microbiome. Just Thrive's probiotics are a unique blend of powerful digestive enzymes. Their probiotics are designed to support optimal digestion and protect against hidden sources of tummy troubles like gluten. This Gluten Away product has the enzyme protease in it, which is scientifically proven to break down the gluten protein to make it digestible, to make it less abrasive on the gut. The resilient probiotic spores support the complex and complete digestive process and help me alleviate inflammation in my body. Our whole family uses Just Thrive's probiotics, their products, and their Gluten Away. Even my girls, you can bake with their capsules by opening them on the probiotics. The Gluten Away enzyme, like I said, I take it anytime we're eating out. I take it at restaurants, at people's houses. Even put it in my morning coffee, right? You can open it, add it to your coffee if you're not sure about the creamer or something else. And with the probiotic, you can do the same. You can add it to your coffee. Did you guys know that spore-based probiotics can survive warm temperatures even? This is how it allows us to bake with them. They can cook up to 500 degrees. And this means you can even add them to the probiotics to your morning pancake batter. We have a special community discount code just for you from Just Thrive Probiotics and their family at Just Thrive. And so the code GFMOM, GFMOM, saves you 15% off your total purchase at their website. We will add that to the show notes. We would love for you to add a bottle of Just Thrive Gluten Away and a bottle of their probiotics to your cabinets, in your kitchen, and also to your purse this season. So you have it with you anytime you're eating out or you're at a friend's house or any celebration or holiday meal. And thank you again, Gluten Away, for being our podcast sponsor. And with that, we're going to head right into the show. All right, we are going to dive in, and we are going to dive in deep, right? So, cultivating guts, you've heard. If you've not heard, go back to like episode 1 where I talk about why cultivating guts. What are the 3 pillars? What are the 3 things that it stands for, from cultivating, gardening, right? Producing your own food, to utilizing that food as medicine to heal your gut, and also growing your intuition, like listening to nature, listening to your gut, listening to your spirit guides, Holy Spirit, the universe, for guidance, but also for clarity, and listening for things that you might want to cultivate in your life and ever changing. And so this past week has been truly a whirlwind. I told my husband yesterday, I felt uh, like I was unstoppable, like a superhero, right? And at one point I was like, let me put on my superhero mask because we were headed out into public. Right now in 2022, we still have to wear a mask. So that it was kind of funny, but in reality, this week was truly amazing. It was a turning point, and I feel it. I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my gut. I feel like this new chapter, this new journey, this evolution of myself, this evolution of where I'm headed, the evolution to teach and to nurture and to inspire and to listen is just evolving and just deepening roots even further and further. And so, in the past week, I did my second free webinar of the year, and this one was on seed starting and tools to start seeds to get ready for gardening. We had a photo shoot, which included some super cute witch hats that came from the costume section, right? In the garden with overalls and mud boots, and like super fun there, flower crowns. Like, we built flower arrangements, me and the girls, and that was super fun. There's one of them behind me, and they actually have witch hazel in them, along with like eucalyptus and all of this wonderful, beautiful stuff, and yellow flowers for happiness. And that just, I mean, the whole week has just been this huge, huge blessing. And like I said, it's just so much deepening and grounding. And so I want to dive in today with why did I identify, why did I choose Greenwich, right? Not only is it trendy, and I get that, and it's like growing, and there's all of this new homesteading. I could have chosen many things. And last fall and last summer, I was having discussions with a couple of the women in my life, and I was like, so I'm debating on calling the new business, right, as we move away from GF Mom certified and gluten-free mom, kid-friendly stuff, into this whole homesteading world and cultivating food for gut health and for cultivating our guts and our gumption, and and our discernment and our intuition, and going against the grain and embracing the weirdness and being excited to be weird, and and singing out loud when you want to sing out loud, and just being different, right? To the extent that my new hat, I love it, right? If you're on, it's a gray felt sun hat, right? For spring, for winter. And it's a little witchy looking. And I absolutely love it. You've seen it on Instagram. If you haven't, go over to my reels. And like things like that. Like, who cares if people judge you? Who cares, right? Who gives a fuck? Okay, we've earned the explicit on this one, but that's great because we're going to talk about some really cool topics. And so I was having these discussions with some women in my life that I trust and that I like to bounce ideas off of, just to kind of get a feel, not necessarily for affirmation or for confirmation, but just to really understand, like, how does it hit them? And I was toying with and playing around with the idea of Greenwich gardening, green goddess gardening, garden angel, garden goddess, garden fairy, like all these little different titles and things and niches. And this was like last summer in October, and then in November I was like, nope, it's Greenwich. It's a witch. I'm a witch. I love it. I'm going to embrace it. It became an affirmation that I'm fully embodying my witch on the inside and out, that I play every day. And that embodiment just really hit this past week, and it just really hit home. And it hit me that I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it. I'm embracing it. I'm wearing the hats. I'm getting clothing. You're going to see, like, in the new photo shoot, like, there is so much fun that's just in this vibe. And I love this vibe. And I don't know that necessarily I was a witch in a past life, not a past life. It's just something that has just, it's there. The intuition is there. the cultivating, the nurturing of plants, the medicinal properties, the herbalism, like it just comes to me naturally. And what is even more interesting, as you might call it, or ironic, or actually just like universe, right, manifesting, is that things that are growing in my backyard that certain people would be like, oh, those are weeds. Why are you letting those grow? The birds have carried specific seeds like nettle, like pigweed, like lamb's quarters, um, to our wild lettuce, right? To our backyard and to our yard in general. And now that I'm doing more reading and I'm learning and I'm actually listening to my intuition, but then looking for confirmation on the intuition, I'm like, these are all medicinal plants, good medicinals and bad medicinals. And we'll talk a little bit about that too, because I am building out a whole Hecate's garden. And so for those of you who are not familiar with the Greek goddess Hecate, she was one of the goddesses that could travel between the heavens and the underworld. So she could go into the dark shadows and deal with poisons and death, but at the same time she could go to the heavens and, and deal with flowers and blossoms and blooming and rebirth. And she had two daughters, and so like some people, there's an image of Hecate with three heads, right? And so there's this, and she had a daughter that was like the pharmacate, which is the medicinal healing properties. And then she had another daughter that was all about the poisons and the elderberry and the foxgloves and like the ways you could kill a person or kill something unintentionally if you didn't know what you were doing with these plants. And we built what started out last year as a tea garden is now my Hecate's garden, because not only did I plant chamomile and lavender and thyme and citrus and and bee balm and things that go into tea, but we planted elderberry because elderberry syrup is good for you if you prepare it right. I planted foxgloves and hollyhock, and this year we're going to add mallow and some other really cool stuff that I just ordered, bare root plants to add to that. We're going to double the size of our Hecate's garden. And so that Greek goddess Hecate is also known as the goddess of witchcraft, right? And that was just another like thing for me to like, ooh, it's just another connection point. And so as we go through, I picked up a few of my favorite books as I'm going to read a couple passages out of these. But a couple of things I want you to know is I didn't go with the garden goddess or the garden fairy or the garden angel, because fairies and angels already exist. They're spirits, right? They already exist. There's already fairies. There's fae. There's these, land spirits. They already live. Angels the same way. Angels, spirits, whatever you want to call them, ghosts. They already are beings. Now, I'm a human being, so I'm not a fairy and I'm not an angel, currently in my human form. And so I didn't want to call myself a garden god, a garden angel, or a garden fairy. And I didn't necessarily want to call myself a garden goddess, even though I love to dress up as a goddess and pretend to be a goddess. And I'm not saying I'm not a goddess. Like every woman should feel like a goddess. But there is a part of being a witch that I like, that I want to embrace, that I want to bring into my daily life. And so part of that for me is the practices, the rituals, the spirituality components of blending, and what is even more like growth, right? An evolution of where I came from. So for those of you that maybe didn't know, I was raised in a very Baptist house, very Baptist home. My grandparents were missionaries for the Baptist church. My mom had a minister license at one point in her life. My dad worked, in the choir. I've got uncles that are pastors. And so there's a little bit of like full circle here as well. Okay. So 8 generations ago, on my father's side of the family, they ran away from France because they were trying to run away from religious persecution, right? So they're basically running away from the Catholic Church. So they run away 8 generations ago to come to America. They settle in America. And then my grandparents, so my grandpa and my grandma on that side, were the first people to go back to a church, right? So 2 generations. So there was a gap in between there. There was like religion was bad or dogma was bad, right? Organized religion, not spirituality, but organized. And then And then I was raised, went to a Baptist grade school for several years, was raised, and I love that part of knowing God. I love that part of knowing there is a support system, that there is a spirit that's there for you, that you can pray and you can ask for things, you can demand things, and that you can connect with an omnipresent, omniscient presence, right? And there's this all knowing in the universe. I still love to use the word God, right? Jesus was a prophet. I get that, just like Muhammad was a prophet. And I love studying world religion. Like right now, I am not only reading a new book called Missing Witches, I'm actually looking at the history of Hinduism and reading about Tantra from a university perspective, world religion class. Like, so diving into a lot of that spirituality from a form of research, openness, understanding. And so there's these different perspectives at play in my own life and these different pieces. And I love my Kundalini yoga practices. And those become to me like rituals and practices that allow me to center, to ground, to do breath work, to recharge my energy, but at the same time to manifest, to pray, to bring things in, right? To receive, to give gratitude, things that I was taught as a child, even as a Christian, right? To give gratitude, to pray, to receive, to give. None of that actually changes. Like my beliefs, I don't think really actually change. I think as I look at it, they open up and they expand and they embrace more. And so there's more beauty in the world. There's more openness and there's less black and white. There's a lot more colors and a lot more yellows and reds and purples and hues of the rainbow, as we all, most of us, I shouldn't say all, most of us believe in a higher power. We may have different words for that higher power, but most of us believe that there is this power, whether you call it universe or God. And I bring that into my Greenwich world. And so I am like fully authentic right now and out there, and I get it. So I'm going to share with you a couple of passages that really hit home for me as I was reading different things. So one of the first books I picked up as I was exploring Greenwich was the Greenwich book by Erin Murphy Hitchcock. And I love her books. I actually just got her new Greenwich gardening book as well. And in the very beginning, in the introduction, she says, the way of the Greenwich is the path of the naturalist, the herbalist, and the healer. It is a free form, flexible, and personalized practice for anyone who wants to explore the gifts of nature and use them to find balance and harmony in life. And what you'll go on to realize is just because you're a Greenwich doesn't mean you study or practice paganism. You might study it, but you don't have to practice paganism. You don't have to practice Wicca or black magic or any of this stuff. And that to me was transformational as well, because how I was raised is that witches were bad, witches were satanic, and they only practiced bad magic, right? And that's what was drilled into my head as a child. And so we didn't dress up as witches. We didn't celebrate Halloween. We didn't draw witches. We didn't talk about witches because they were bad, 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 right? And now as an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, we were so blindfolded and lied to, and like the patriarchy just put those blinders on us and scared the hell out of us about these witches. And in reality, being a witch is just embracing yourself. It's embracing your weirdness. It's embracing your uniqueness. It's embracing the rebel, the courage inside of you, your wild woman, right? Being this woman of power, courage, bravery. It's windy right now. The elements, feeling the nature. And as it's just said, it's this path of a naturalist, which I already embrace totally. Like, love my natural stuff, love my organic garden, which I just found out in reading a new book this week called Moon Gardening, which was written by one of the Queen's gardeners in London. Biodynamic gardening and moon gardening are they're different, but they go together. And there's so much of biodynamic gardening that I already do and didn't realize it. Kind of like when I built our raised bed garden and the way I laid it out, it's actually, in the French sense, a potager. So that is a garden that you raise vegetables or herbs or roots in that would go in pots. And so there would be a potager on different French provinces or farms. And to me, this is very, very intuitive. My heritage is French. My heritage is Viking. Like, if we go to 23andMe, which I did several years ago, and I continue to go back in and look at their new stuff, like my ancestors were Vikings very directly. They invaded France. They stayed in France for a while. And then they came to America when they decided they were running away from the Catholic Church. It's all right there. There's no denying it. And now I get to go back and like, oh, I want to dress up as a Greek Norse goddess, right? I want to embrace that. I have a French potager in my backyard where we grow things. We have now the Hecate's garden that we're expanding this year, and we're adding currants and aranberries, and I'm gonna add some sweetgrass and like all this fun stuff and more poppies and just super fun, amazing stuff. So that is one passage out of this that really hit me. The other part of this, which I think is really cool, is that historically a Greenwich lived apart, using the energies of plants and trees around her to heal others, right? I've always been a healer. And I've always been somebody that had an inner knowing when it came to food, whether it was eating a certain thing to lower your blood pressure or eating something else to regulate your cholesterol or this for gut health, right? Or stomach calming. That's always been a part of me. And it just took me a while to be able to speak it and to speak it with courage and confidence and not to second guess myself or to feel like I have imposter syndrome because I didn't have a degree. And then I went and got the degree and I got the functional medicine practitioner degree and the certifications. And then I didn't do anything any different. So I don't know why I went to get the degree. But anyway, right. It was part of our American patriarchal culture that says, oh, you need a piece of paper. Well, no, you don't need a piece of paper. If you know it inherently, if your higher spirit, if your intuitiveness, if your guides tell it to you and you trust it, it is what it is. You know it. And that's part of cultivating that intuition and learning to speak with confidence and knowing when you know that you're right, when you know that what you're being told is maybe being channeled or it's coming to you and you just feel it in your gut, you feel it in your stomach that this is correct. I don't know how I know, but I know, right? And you do know that you know because God told you or the spirit told you or the universe told you. But she goes on to say here that those in need of her services would travel to see the Greenwich. These days, a Greenwich is more likely to live in the middle of a city or in a suburb. She could work in a variety of fields, such as business, medicine, teaching, or might be a full-time mom. A Greenwich isn't defined by where she lives or what she does to bring home a paycheck, nor is she limited to working with plants, trees, and herbs. She is not, as people might assume, solely defined by the particular way she expresses her spirituality or by the religion she follows. The Green Witch is defined by her relationship to the world around her, her ethics, and her affinity for the natural world. In essence, she lives the green path. And that right there is like how I can call myself a Green Witch, right? Suburban homesteader, mom, right? Functional medicine coach, whatever you want to say, avid gardener, seed starter, educationer, coach, but I still live that green natural path. And that is truly, truly something of fun. Okay, so I got a couple other books here. One of the things I truly love, and the more and more I listen, I love it even more. So if you've never listened to an audiobook by Lisa Lister, you need to do that. You need to go to Audible. You need to get like Code Red, which is about embracing your female power and your period and your menstrual cycle and using that power of the cycle. This is her book called Witch by Lisa Lister. And again, powerful, powerful book. And in here, she talks about different kinds of witches, right? And which way do you witch? Because what I'm finding as I embrace my own witch is other witches are showing up in my life. Now, some of them have been there for a while, and I've known some Reiki healers and some sound healers. And yet I know a kitchen witch. She doesn't call herself a kitchen witch, but she can make magic in the kitchen with like nothing. My daughter, I would call her a crystal witch. If you had any idea what she was able to do or tell you about rocks and crystals at her age, you would agree with me. But yeah, so which way do you witch? And Lisa Lister goes into like there's Alexandrian witches, which are covens that are found in England during the 1960s by Alexander Sanders and self-proclaimed king of the witches. There's Appalachian granny traditional witches, right? And these traditions date back to the first Scottish and Irish settlers of the Appalachian Mountains in the 1700s, who brought with them their magical traditions of the old ways. And so you think of Celtic people from Ireland and Druids and all of that from that Irish, Celtic, Scottish area. And they blended their traditions of magic with the Cherokee tribes in the Appalachian Mountains. And so they call them, a lot of them are called granny witches. And so you can find stuff there. There's your traditional northern witches, which are your Norse, right? The Odins, the Freyas, the goddesses, Thor. And I relate to that as well as the more I read. There is your I'm going to butcher this as I try to pronounce it, and I apologize. I am not great with pronunciation. Your bucha, um, the Spanish word for witch, and I feel like the J should be an H, so it's probably bruja, maybe. These would have been in, right, your holy waters, and they blended a little bit of their magic with the Catholic Church when they had the Catholic invasion in Spain and also in Mexico. And so their traditions are definitely indigenous, but they also have this Latin Hispanic feel to them. There's your Celtic witch, your Danic witch, which is a mixture of different traditions that focuses on goddesses who worship three aspects: the maiden, the mother, and the crone. There's an eclectic witch, which is an approach for individuals who want to pick up and choose from many different traditions to create a personalized form of witchcraft that meets their individual needs and abilities. There's a Gardnerary witch, named after Gerald Gardner. The tradition enfolds elements of several ancient practices because of its local origins. Gardner practiced in the northern forest a few miles in the north in the UK from where actually Lisa Lister lives now. It also incorporates the folklore and customs of the English paganism. There's your green or eco witch, and this is where I totally identify, completely 100% a green witch, also known as an eco witchcraft, is the practice of nature and earth-based witchcraft. So whether that's, making your own dried herbal remedies, making your own teas at home, making your own bath salts, there's so much. Gardening, right, is involved, cooking, all of this different stuff. Traveler and Roman Shavani witches. The Roman tradition uses simple spells and rituals to harness the power of nature and the elemental spirits that are all around us. There's a hedge witch. I was at Barnes & Noble yesterday, and they actually have hedge witch grimoire books. But the hedge witch follows the path that some would say is more shamanic in nature. It's seen and spoken as a wise woman, the earth-based spirituality. The hedge witch was known for living on the hedge or the outskirts of the village. So I feel like in several of our Disney movies, there's hedge witch portrayed in some of those. There's a hereditary witch. The hereditary witch is given to witches who have inherited their magic gifts through their bloodline, right? There's a hoodoo witch, hoodoo and conjure and root work are all terms used to describe the practices of African American and Native American folk medicine and magic. So you may think of a hoodoo witch in relationship to New Orleans or other places in across the globe, really. The kitchen witch, right? The kitchen witch is super practical, works phenomenally with the elements and the ancient ones and the nature. They use their knife the same to cut carrots as she does to prepare potions and tinctures and cough syrups and other fun stuff in the kitchen, and maybe vodkas. There's the shamanic and shaman, right? The shaman is the female and the medicine woman whose practices are drawn from those of shamans of traditional pagan cultures. So there are so much different kinds of witches that you could identify with. And that's why just because you might have a certain religious affiliation doesn't mean that you can't also be a witch if you choose to be. And I want to just kind of call that out. I also want to call out, I'm going to go back at my notes that I was making at 2:00 in the morning, right? The reason I chose Greenwich is because it is a symbol of the rebel. It is a symbol of embracing my weirdness, which I talked about. It is a symbol of going against the normal, growing my own food in the suburbs, having a farm, we're getting chickens, like all this stuff that is innate to me, and bringing it to a place where it may not be culturally normal. But who cares what's normal anymore? Normal is boring in my mind. Right? And the reason I spell magic with a K comes to me from the book Hecate's Keys, because the practice of pharmacate, the practice of using plants as medicine, not pharmaceuticals where we use chemicals as medicine, but using plants as medicine, pharmacate is magic with a K. Magic with a C for myself is more potions and practical magic and stuff you would associate with traditional Wicca or paganism. But magic with a K for me, I believe is, and you'll see this in like our Greenwich planner that I wrote and different articles I write. Magic with a K is plant magic. What can you do with nature? What can you do with the spirit of the plants and the different correspondence and the energy that comes from those? And so that is magic with a K. We talked about a lot of this already. We talked about Lisa Lister. And we talked about my childhood, right? And the current books I'm reading. So again, I just got this, started reading it because I love reading. I love reading 3-4 books at a time. I do want to read you also an excerpt from this book called Missing Witches. And I'm super excited. I found out they have a podcast called Missing Witches that I'm going to start listening to. So in the very foreword, there is this part that I absolutely love, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, "We witches need to remember who we are, where we come from. The world needs witches now, people who are comfortable in the mess and the storm, who can call the winds and the rain. The witch is the one who has always stood outside the status quo, the one who is born in the flames of resistance. Now, we witches must use our breath to calm ourselves, to speak, to inspire, to chant, and to add our voices to the chorus around the world, invoking the spirit of justice." So what is justice for you? That is my question. And as you're listening to this podcast and you want some more information, maybe you want to know more about these books, leave a comment, send me a private message, put something on Facebook. You can reach me at gfmomcertified. You can email me at tiffany@gfmomcertified.com. And I'll get you the links for the books. I'll send you where I got them from. You could read them yourself. But this whole episode, today's podcast, I just wanted to share where I'm at, how I'm evolving, how I'm transforming, and let you know why I chose a Greenwich. Why am I a Greenwich? I chose it. I choose to be the Greenwich. I'm excited to be the Greenwich. And I'm excited to share my witchy rituals and practices with you and continue to help you foster your own naturalism, your own intuition, and your own ability to cultivate in this world that we live in. And some of that now might include biodynamic soil regeneration. I got to do a little bit more reading there. I love to read and research. That's just me. But there's so much to learn about putting nutrients back in soil naturally, from using your scraps from the juicer, your compost, to having a compost bin, to using, cardboard and worm castings, to there's so much more to dive into. That's a whole nother episode we can talk about. Soil, bioregeneration of soil, biodynamics. But today was all about Greenwich, why a witch, and my excitement to embrace my weirdness, my power, and to put my Greenwich practices in place to help inspire and cultivate more individuals to be able to grow healthy food to improve their own health. Thank you for joining me, and we will talk soon. See you next week. We will be actually talking next week with Jung Seeds and how to prepare to visit a garden center this spring. Super excited for that episode to come out next week. So with that, guys, have a wonderful day. Bye. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Share with me what your favorite part was, and share with me if you read any of the books that I mentioned today on the podcast, from any of the audios by Lisa Lister, the Greenwich book by Erin Murphy Hitchcock, or this Missing Witches, the newest book I picked up by Risa Dickens and Amy Tork. Ask me any questions you have. I am here for you, and I am excited to see all your benefits. Satnam. Love you guys. So if you love this episode, share it with your friends. Send it to anyone who would love this inspiration or information that I shared today. And to get my newest book, The Ultimate Greenwich Gardening Planner, visit Amazon, or our website, www.cultivatingguts.com. I also want to let you know that we have another live webinar coming up in March that you'll be able to sign up for over at www.cultivatingguts.com. And we also have January and February's replays out there that you can register and watch for free on the website. January was all about visioning and planning the garden, and February's, which we just recorded last week, was all about seed starting, tools you need to start your seeds in the house, making it super easy for you, super short education, like 20 minutes, I think it was actually 28 minutes with everything. And so get you started and set you up for success with seeds in the house. We are so excited to gather together virtually, and soon we will be planning an in-person event for late April, all about gardening, and I'm so excited to invite people into my garden. By that time, we should have our greenhouse all set up and ready to go, and chickens on the way, or personally in process of getting the chicken coop put together. You'll find all those details over at www.cultivatingguts.com, and we will see you inside. Everything you need to get started to be a Greenwich master gardener is right there for you at the website, and all the stuff you need to get going and growing your own food to help your gut thrive.